Hey guys, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the newest episode of The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 12, Not Tomorrow Yet. This episode was really good, 10 out of 10 for sure. This episode was just, I'm kind of trying to debate over myself which one's better, this episode or Episode 9 of this season. This has got to be the best season of any show ever of all time. It's just so action-packed, so much fun. And this episode really brings in the action. I love it. So, it has a lot of dialogue and stuff in it, so if you see me staring at my paper trying to see where I am, trying to read the lines and stuff, just bear with me there, because there's a lot of little hidden things and relationship-style stuff in this episode, so there's a lot to talk about. I have like 4 pages of stuff that I have to cover from this episode, so yeah, please just forgive me for that. So, to start out, we see Carol collecting acorns for some cooking that she's going to be doing, and she sort of has this whimsical spirit about her. It's like she's happy at first, but then later, as we get deeper into the episode, you sort of see her getting more depressed, and we see what Carol's life is, sort of. So I'm glad that we get to see a little more Carol. Since the episode 9, we really haven't seen much of Carol. This is now finally showing more, and I like that, because Carol's one of my favorite characters for sure. She's on the top of the list. But throughout this episode, we're kind of seeing her become less of herself, and she kind of seems sympathetic towards Morgan's position, which I'm not a fan of. I hope that that's not something that they're going to do. That is not right. Carol is supposed to be the gung-ho person that wants to go out there. We don't want her to be Morgan, okay? Keep Carol the way she is. That's how I want it. Okay. So she makes these cookies out of the acorns and some beets. So beets and acorn cookies. So not a fan of just the thought of it, but she's such a good cook, I guess she can do a good job out of it. And she takes the cookies around handing them out to people, and then she meets up with Tobin, who is that construction guy from way back when. He had some dialogue with Rick, and we've seen him working with Abe previously, so he's just been throughout this season for a while. He was in Season 5 a little bit, so he's kind of becoming more of a stable character here. He's like T-Dog. He's that background guy. And she and Tobin actually have a little exchange, and it's kind of funny, and it sort of gets us feeling that they're friendly here, which, as the episode continues, you see a little bit more of that friendliness. But, okay, right after she gives Tobin the cookies that she gave him, Rick's group makes it back, and they decide Rick's going to ask the people questions and stuff at the meeting. But then Carol has a slight little discussion with Morgan, and Morgan's such a little pious creep. I don't know, I just couldn't stand him for any second of this episode, knowing what he is, who he is. Ugh. But Carol seems a little sympathetic towards him, which I'm not a fan of, again. And she says to him that, he asks her why she didn't tell on him, and why no one else told on him. She says that she's made sure that they won't talk or anything. I don't know why. It's stupid. I don't like that writing, but that part of the writing, that is. It just seems too much like Carol's converting to Morganism. Okay, now, Carol leaves a cookie on Sam's grave right before she leaves. It's kind of sad to think about, because cookies and Carol and Sam, it's just been their thing the whole time, and that poor Sam kid, everyone hates him. I hate him too, but he was still just a kid. It's kind of sad to think about, and that's sort of alluding to, I think, Carol feeling regretful about the stuff that she's done. Which, throughout this episode, it's like Carol's degrading morality. It's just, she's feeling bad about everything, and she's getting in a depressed state. Which is, again, not what I'm a fan of. Okay, but then Rick holds a meeting in the church, and we see some more people. I think we've seen most of them already in the show, but some of them are kind of new. And of course, these aren't all the people they sort of state, because there's some people out doing guard duty, some people patrolling the wall, and some people still in their houses. So that's supposed to make us feel like there's more people. And Rick talks to them all because he doesn't want to be a dictator and just do everything without their permission. He talks to them about Negan, how they're going to go kill the saviors and all. And they seem to be okay with it, except for Morgan, of course, who stands up and he's like, we don't have to do this, we can talk to them, you don't have to kill them first, blah, blah, blah. So just regular Morgan stuff, which, of course, no one is willing to even, for 1 second, take in what he's saying. It's just like, okay, you've said your piece, now sit down and shut up. That's how he needs to be treated, because he is just such a little wiener. Okay, so, yeah, then we see Carol sleeping in her bed, and she's, sad in a way. And when she sits up, she grabs out a journal and opens it up, and we see a bunch of writing in it, and then she writes 18 and circles it. That is actually, she has it all like in just, K stands for this or something like that. It's not actually just plainly written out. So I have actually figured out what that is. So what she has written down in there is R, K, D, and L is written like diagonally, and then, or whatever, I don't know. And then it says Terminus / Courtyard 3, question mark, and then Candy Woman, or Candle Woman 4, and then WS 7. What that is the R stands for Lizzie's dad, who was like Richard or something. And then the K and the D stands for Karen and David. Those are the 6 sick people that she burned to death. She shot and then burned or whatever, something like that. And then the L stands for Lizzie, who she had to shoot behind the, look at the flowers. And then the Candle Woman is, of course, Denise Crosby. That's Gareth's mom. And then WS7 refers to the 7 wolves that she killed. So I'm pretty sure that doesn't even come out to a total of 18, though, so I'm not sure what's up with that. But that's to show that she's feeling regrets about killing, I think. She's being bothered by all the people that she killed, and she has to keep that by her side so she can just jot down people that she's remembering of killing, I guess. That's, again, a little bit more of a hint towards that, which is also kind of making me worry about her mortality. Are they going to kill her off by Negan, perhaps? Because while I don't think that's going to happen, it is more of a possibility the more they show of her and the more they make her like Morgan or like Dale before them, or like Tyrese was going through a position where he didn't want to kill. I mean, people, when they start getting in that mood, they start dying. That's just a sort of... yeah, it's just a thing that happens. It's the Walking Dead curse. Okay, so she can't sleep, so she goes out for a walk. And then she runs into Tobin again. And she talks with Tobin a little bit. They have a funny exchange again. So they've kind of got a Han Solo-Leia type relationship here. Of course, if Han Solo and Leia were like 50 years old each. But they have sort of something interesting that they talk about. So Tobin says that she can do what she does because she's a mom, and then he goes on to say that she's like the mom to all the Alexandrians, and she asks, to you too? And he says, no, you're something else to me. And then they kiss. So that's probably going to upset a lot of Daryl Carol fans, because they were hoping for Daryl and Carol to have a relationship. But I think this is a much more natural relationship, and I'm kind of digging it. It's because she's kind of old and seems very motherly. Tobin kind of works with that, and the way they interact, there's a lot more chemistry than Carol has had with anyone else. Carol, with every other character, really is kind of motherly. But with this guy, it's like that's the father. That's a pretty good mix, so I like that. And then, talking about relationships, next scene we've got Rosita and Abe. Abe breaks up with Rosita, which I kind of figured he would, and I think I might have predicted that in my previous review. So Rosita is left in tears, and she asks him why, and he says, let me think. tells her it's because when he was with her, he thought she was the last woman on Earth, and that is just like the worst thing. That's not even close to. It's not me, it's you, or it's not you, it's me. That's what he says is just like the worst thing you could say to a woman when you're breaking up with her. What a scumbag. I'm not a fan of Abe, really. If Abraham were to die by Negan's bat, I'd be a little okay with it. I've always got this thing next to me. And, yeah, I really would be okay with that. He kind of is a jerk, and I guess he's made his decision that he wants to be with Sasha from the way he said it. So, just not a fan myself. Okay. And then, also, after he says that, he leaves the room, and you see Eugene standing there in a funny-looking t-shirt, and he's just, like, very dopey-looking. That's sort of alluding to the relationship that they later have in the comics between Eugene and Sasha, I believe, which may happen, but I'm Eugene and Rosita, I'm sorry. But I don't think that's actually going to happen. It's just, in the comics, it seems a lot different from the TV show in that position. So, the guy Rick brought back is now drawing out a map of Negan's compound, and you can see that it's a very small compound from the way he's drawing it out, which immediately I just took it to mean that's not Negan's main area. That is just a tiny little a little outpost of Negan's men so that they can pick up the drop-offs from Hilltop. That is obviously not the main thing, and later on when we see it, you can definitely tell, especially from the way they handle it. Okay, so then Denise and Tara kind of have a talk, and Denise sees Tara looking spaced out, and she starts talking to her, and then Tara, out of nowhere, kind of says that she loves Denise, and we find out later that why it seemed so unnatural there and awkward, but right here it's just like leaves us a little questioning, like, what was that all about? That stuff seemed a little awkward. Okay, and we also find out that she's planning on going out with Heath on a trip for about 2 weeks. And that's kind of interesting because I didn't hear that. Were they talking about that before? But I heard some of my comments and stuff, people were talking about that, and I was like, how do they know that they're going somewhere? Was that mentioned? Whatever. Okay. So, Rick and group then set out to get a walker head that looks like Gregory's, because they were sent, the Hilltop people were sent out to kill Gregory, right? But they don't have to kill Gregory. They want to bring his head back, right? So what they're going to do is find a walker that looks enough like Gregory to pass. And really, at this point, I would figure that's highly unlikely because if you've seen the walkers, they're all very rot-faced and not fresh enough to even be close to matching someone's face. But what they do find is unlikely, but very close. So, and apparently one of the heads that you see lined up is Johnny Depp's. It's like a mold of his face that was put there. So, tell me if you guys think that's true. I've heard a lot about that. Okay. So, they set out and then you just see them like talking a little here and there. Rosita and what's her name? Carol have a little conversation. Okay. Father Gabriel talks to Rick though, and this is one of the more interesting conversations that happen in between this little quick search for a walker. Rick asks Father Gabriel if he's ready and stuff, if he's going to be okay with all this, and Father Gabriel's like, he's very cool about it all. He's talking about how he's ready, and you really get the idea that he's no longer just that wimpy little Father Gabriel that's going to give up, and that's good. I like that they get that out of the way for you so you don't have to be like, he's going to screw up, he's going to screw up. No, you immediately get the feeling here like he's ready for battle. Probably more ready than most of the Alexandrians, especially since when you see him finally kill a guy, he does a lot better than any other person who hasn't killed a human yet. Just watch it yourself, see what you think. So then Rick asks Father Gabriel, why are you still wearing that? Referring to his priest clothing. And Father Gabriel says, it's because I'm still who I was, I think. and they won't be able to see me in the dark. Kind of funny. Father Gabriel's got pretty good timing with his jokes. I like that. If you've noticed, like, just go back to a few episodes and see how he talks. He's actually kind of comedic. So, what Rosita asked Carol was why they didn't tell on Morgan, and Carol seems very, again, sympathetic towards Morgan when she's replying to Rosita here. I'm not quite sure. It's like there's something hidden in the way that Carol's acting. Again, still not a fan of that. And I like, Rosita doesn't like Morgan just like we don't like Morgan. She called Morgan an hijo de puta, which is, it translates to SOB, you know. That's just initials for, yeah, I'm not going to say the swear word, son of a B. Just because I'm trying to keep a rather clean reviewing area here. Okay. So, Glenn and Heath talk about how they haven't killed a person before, and that's true. For the longest time I was like, wait a second, did Glenn actually kill anybody? I'm going to have to go back and watch all these episodes, but no, he hasn't killed a human being yet, which is weird because pretty sure almost every other human in this show has killed a person. Maggie even killed a person, if you go back to the Woodbury episodes. So it's weird that Glenn hasn't. I just kind of got the feeling that he had. And, of course, that's something that does come up later, that they haven't killed someone. Okay, they finally find some walkers that look like Gregory, and they cut off their heads and line them up. There's 3 heads. And the one on the left, apparently, is supposed to be... no, wait. Judging by... I mean, like, my right, their left, the head's left, whatever. That's supposed to be Johnny Depp's head. But, I don't know, it actually does look like him, but I can't tell you for sure because so many rumors on the internet, you can't tell what's real and what's not anymore. And they finally choose the head that looks the most like him, but then Jesus is like, still doesn't quite look like him. And Rick's like, what's wrong? It's the nose. It's not quite his nose. Rick picks it up. Bash! 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 Leaves the nose a flattened pudding, and when Rick stands up, he looks at Andy, which is the guy that they brought with them from Hilltop, and the guy's like, let me look at the line, get a little more specific than off the top of my head. Let's see. Oh, he says that saviors are scary, but they've got nothing on you. It's because Rick really is kind of creepy. I mean, just go back to what Andy has seen of the guy. Rick beat up that big guy, I think his name was Ethan. He beat him up and stabbed his throat and blood poured on him. Now he sees Rick pick up a head and just smash it out of nowhere. He kind of resembles what you'd imagine Negan would be like. So, yeah, Rick is pretty tough. Okay. So, after all that, they chose the head, and now they head to the Savior's place. We see Andy approach the Savior's little compound here, and there's just 2 guards out front, which also sort of clues you in that this isn't their main area, because Negan would not just leave 2 guys on guard at his big place that he's in charge of. And having read the comics, you know that Negan has a huge force, and this is just like a tiny little branch of his force. I'm sure he has like a ton of these compounds everywhere, just like miles around. Which again makes me a little fearful for the future of these episodes. It makes me think that there's going to be a lot of trouble, at least a whole season's worth. So it's going to take more than a year to fully complete this little Negan story arc. So look forward to that, guys. Okay, but they're able to trick, Andy's able to trick the guys with the head, and then one of them go inside with the, did he take the head? I don't know. He like went inside with the head, which gave them perfect time. Daryl kills the other guy that's out there, and then when this guy comes out, Michonne slices him through. Then they just go on inside, and the place is theirs. They just walk through each room with the sleeping people and knife them in the face, and it's going very swimmingly and smoothly. Nothing's really causing any problems. Let me look at make sure I'm not missing anything here. While this is happening, Sasha and Jesus and Gabriel, no, not Tara, talks to Jesus and Gabriel, and she explains to them why she told Denise why she loved her. I'm still not 100% sure why she told her she loved her. She could have just explained, but I don't know, it was weird. And she said that she had done something like this before and that she didn't like it. That was when she was with the governor, just so you guys remember. Oh boy, this is really hard for me. And I'd just like to mention, Rick brought 15 people. I managed to count them all out. So I can't quite name everyone that's there, but it's pretty much our entire main character cast, and missing just a couple, like Eugene and small characters like that. So this is pretty much all of the main cast characters out here. So if anyone dies, it will affect us. Just think about that. Okay, so everything's going smoothly, just stabbing heads. And then Heath and Glenn have to stab some people's heads. Glenn's able to do it, but then Heath is like hesitating, and Glenn decides to do it for him because Glenn doesn't want to have Heath soil his soul, I guess, himself. So Glenn takes this guy out, and then he looks up, and there's these pictures on the wall of people with their heads completely flattened and smashed in, which, of course, is Negan's doing with his little Lucille. And that is kind of creepy. It's kind of making me feel a little bit more like Glenn might be the person meeting Lucille. Just saying. That's a little bit of foreshadowing, perhaps, and not exactly looking forward to that. I'm hoping that it's Morgan, maybe Abraham, anyone else, just not Glenn or Daryl or Rick or Carol, just not someone that I care about. Okay. So then Abe and Sasha screw things up because one guy comes out behind Abe and slices Abe's arm, and then they toss the guy around. Sasha stabs him in like right here, solar plexus, twice. But the guy's able to trigger an alarm, and then all hell breaks loose. People are coming out with machine guns everywhere, and we get like a whole 10 minutes worth of constant gunshots. It's awesome. It reminds me of a video game where just you see Rick come around a corner, and then a bunch of people are coming out and just blah 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 blah. They go flying to their deaths, blah 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 blah, and people's insides just getting grinded up and splattered all over the walls. It was high tension and very fun. You see Daryl just knocks a guy down with a shotgun and then beats his head in. That is one of the best little scenes of action I've seen in The Walking Dead. So this is pretty much what I wanted to see with Woodbury. Woodbury was kind of disappointing, as where you didn't really see Rick's group fighting the governor's group all that much, like at all. Here, just starting out into Negan's story, you're immediately seeing a big war break out right here. And next we see some guys come running out of the building, and of course Gabriel, Jesus, and Tara are outside making sure anyone who comes out gets killed. And Gabriel actually proves his worth. He takes down a guy. I think he's taken down a few guys, but then this guy comes out and he says, drop the weapon. I think he shoots the guy and wounds him, then says, drop the weapon, and the guy won't do it, and he's like talking over Gabriel the whole time, but Gabriel goes all Boondock Saints on him. Boondock Saints, of course, is a movie that Norman Reedus was in. Very good. They play like, it's Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery. Look it up yourself. I'm not going to explain it all. But he points his gun up at the guy, and he starts quoting from like the Bible, I suppose, and he says, "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you." And then the guy's talking over him, then he says, I'll go prepare a place for you. And then, bam, shoots the guy in the head and says, amen. That right there is just, I love that little Boondock Saints scenes where they point guns at people's heads and say scripture and stuff and shoot them. It's very cool, just something about it. And Gabriel is now top of my list in favorite characters just for doing that. That is extra awesome. What what they're doing with Gabriel is really great. They're taking a character that was just a nothing and turning him into a real stand-up character. So it's kind of like what they did with Carol's character. Huh. I guess I really enjoy when they do that to people. Okay. So after that, it seems like everything's okay, because they go outside and they've got their guns raised, still ready for anything to happen. But then Heath and Tara, I believe, already take off in their RV for their 2-week search and explore mission. And everything seems okay, and then a motorcycle comes out of the compound, goes zooming across, and they believe wing him, and he goes down, and then Daryl goes on top of him and punches him in the face and asks him where he got the bike, because this is Daryl's old bike that Dwight stole. Which tells us that Dwight is definitely with Negan now. And over the last, I suppose it's been 3 months, supposedly, maybe, from here to back when he met Dwight. So it's been a little while, and that would explain how Dwight is now with Negan, so I think that's fair. And then they hear on the guy's radio someone talking, and it's a woman, and she says that, she has Maggie and Carol, which sucks. It's like everything was going swimmingly, and then all of a sudden, crap. They've got a kidnapped situation here. So it really sucks too, because I wouldn't figure that Carol would be too easy to kidnap. Shoot. But if you check the previews and stuff of the next episode, I'm not going to spoil this for you right now. So if you don't want to hear what happens in the next episode, like just the beginning or anything, you can stop it right here. Okay. So you see the woman that has them, and it's just like 3 saviors that are left, and they're holding guns on Maggie and Carol. It doesn't seem too threatening, and the girl that's in this preview is actually an actress that's in quite a few things. I looked her up. She's from a show called Sybil with Sybil Shepherd. She's in a bunch of soap operas and stuff. Just a pretty big actress, and I don't know if that matters too much, but just mentioning it, guys. Yeah, so we know that Carol is safe, just saying. It's not that they're dead. That's at least a good thing. Okay. So, that's pretty much it. This was a really good episode. The ending really leaves me happy and... not happy. Anticipating the next episode. But the overall thing was great. Action-filled, horror-filled. Not too many zombies, technically. I mean, for a zombie show, there were very few zombies. Especially since all that gunshot noise, you'd figure some would be drawn, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, guys, tell me what you thought about it, and make sure to leave a comment asking a question about The Walking Dead, and I will answer it in a video on Saturday.